We know you love this little town. We all love you too. So from the bottom of our grateful hearts, thank you for these things. God put you here because he knew you'd be in the wind beneath our wings.
Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining us today. This is a celebration of three of our most important public facilities and open spaces: our library, our town hall, and the island out at Mill Pond here today. Just as previous generations of Winchester citizens took great civic pride in the construction of these three beautiful facilities, so too the current generation of Winchester citizens can take great pride in the restoration of these facilities here today before you. Today we recognize two outstanding citizens in particular, Chad Maurer and Sandra Rodgers, who both played major roles in the restoration efforts. In fact, I can think of no two other individuals who have contributed more to the quality of life in Winchester than Chad and Sandy. Their passion for and dedication to the betterment of our community, we will be ever grateful to those individuals. Our program today starts off with the dedication of the library's landscaping and engraved granite circle in honor of Chad Maurer for his many contributions to the library renovation. We will then move over a few feet to the island for the naming of the island in honor of Sandy Rodgers in recognition of all her efforts. From there, we'll move over to the Town Hall Auditorium for an announcement of plans to name the auditorium after Chad Maurer, who took a leadership role in the renovation of Town Hall, as well as many of our other public buildings. I would like to thank the sponsors of this dedication, including the members of the Board of Library Trustees, Kevin Drum, Ellen Browning, Debbie Pravell, John French, Ann Nevis, Lane McGovern, and Ernie Phillips, and the Board of Selectmen, Betsy Krager, Carl Frizzell, Priscilla McPhee, Jim Johnson, and Charles Nurenberger. I'd also like to thank all the friends of the Winchester Library for participating and sponsoring this event. I would also like to express a special thanks to the DPW crews who worked on the project. They were all enthusiastic about it, worked very hard, and certainly their pride in doing a great job on this was very self-evident when you look around here today. We are honored here today to be joined by members of Chad's family, and I'd just like to introduce them at this time. We have his wife, Regina, here with us, his mother, Nan, his son, Andrew, and his wife, Nicole, his daughter, Lynn, and her son, Tyler, along with Drew, and his brother, Greg, and his son, Michael. At this time, I would like to call upon the chairman of the Board of Library Trustees, Kevin Drum.
Thank you very much. Before I start with my prepared remarks, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the tragic loss of Richard Welton, one of our reference librarians. Richard died in a whitewater rafting accident last Saturday. Could we please have a brief moment of silence in recognition of his loss? Thank you. The library restoration began in the planning stages in 1992, and today we celebrate the completion of the project. I have the pleasure of speaking on behalf of the Library Board of Trustees about the very special contribution of one man, our former town manager, W. Chadwick Maurer, in his role in the renovation of our most loved and much valued public library. Anyone who knew Chad knew nothing happened in town without his knowledge or his input. At the beginning, it was Chad Maurer who strongly encouraged the Library Board of Trustees to be its own building committee. Chad said, "No one knows the library the way you do. No one is better suited to make the decisions that you'll need to make." Chad reassured them, "Don't worry about the problems that will come up during construction. I'll be there. I'll help you." And true to his word, Chad was there when he was needed. And so, on the strength of Chad's advice and with the faith in Chad's leadership and support, the trustees, Ellen Browning, Lane McGovern, Ann Nevins, Debbie Pravell, and Ernie Phillips embarked on a $5 million project, $700,000 of which was raised with private contributions. Chad was there whenever he was needed, and sometimes when the board didn't expect to see him. From Chad's vantage point up there in his window, he would often call Library Director Linda Wills to make comments on the progress of the renovation, the room layout, the colors, and choices being made on plantings in every detail. But it was during the process of planning, debating costs, making presentations to town boards and committees, and then later battling with contractors that Chad was at his best. At these times, Chad would often use one of his favorite quotes to inspire the library board. Determined to remind everyone the decision made about the library would stand for years to come, Chad would say, "Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood." A quote from the 19th century architect and city planner Daniel Burnham. The library trustees and friends of the library who funded the landscaping through Build for the Future campaign wanted to honor Chad Maurer not only for the support of the library renovations project, but also for his constant support of the library as town manager. And today we are dedicating a granite medallion right below here in the seating area overlooking the pond in Sandy's Island. The medallion carries Chad's quote as a reminder to all of us, "Make no little plans." The extraordinary beauty of this site and these renovated public buildings are testimony to Chad's philosophy. From his vantage point, we think Chad must be quite pleased with the results. Thank you.
I'd next like to call upon Leo Roach, library trustee and co-chair of the Library Landscape Committee.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In March of 1979, Rosemary Sullivan and I were appointed by the Friends of the Winchester Public Library as co-chair of the Landscape Committee. We spent some time getting things organized. We finally put it out to bid. We got our quotes in, made some adjustments, and finally started the work. As you'll recall, over a year and a half or so, all this concrete work that was done, as a matter of fact, even the stairs that we're just ending on, which led to nowhere, were completed. With the help of Julie Kuhn, who is our landscape designer, and the other members of this committee, which were Debbie Pavel and Ann Nevins as the library trustees, Mary Lou Cowgill, Marjorie Lamar, and Sandy Rodgers, also on the committee. The work got done with a lot of difficulty, as you can well imagine. Once the concrete work was done, the shrubbery and the grass was planted. There was a couple of years to maturity, but finally we led to this point. When it was determined that there was going to be this memorial to Chad Maurer, and Sandy's Island was going to be completed, both committees, or all committees, got together and decided that they would work together to get all this concrete work done and make it a final project. It is the final project now as far as the landscaping committee is concerned, and we can now turn it over to the town. We must, however, thank many of the people who were helpful in this project. The DPW spent hours putting all this concrete work down, and then we had other contributions from stone landscaping to put in the recent plantings. We had a donation from Dean and Denise Pappas of one of the benches in honor of Linda Wills, our director of the library. As you might imagine, Linda Wills, being the director, was involved in most of the phases that we were involved with, and spent innumerable hours trying to coordinate all people put together. One thing she didn't do is make a call to improve the weather today. The other bench that you see in front of you here was donated by Friends, Just Friends Book Group in loving memory of Peter Mencher. Now, the town owes a great deal of gratitude to the Friends of the Winchester Public Library, who raised the funds to be able to do this landscaping as well as many other things during the library construction. It was the library Friends funds that were able to finance this beautiful landscaping that you now see. We also want to give our thanks to Jack Carucci, who is the accountant for the Bill for the Future and has spent many years donating his time and talents for us. I trust that I have not forgotten anybody who was such a help in this whole project, but if I did, it's totally unintentional. Thank you.
And vote to name the island in the mill pond the Sandra S. Rodgers Island.
This dedication obviously deals with the island behind us in Mill Pond. Just at the outset, I want to mention that anywhere that you look in this community, you'll see the great works of Sandy Rodgers in action. Sandy Rodgers has promoted countless beautification projects throughout this community, from funding to design. She does it all. Basically, Sandy is Winchester's Olmsted and Carnegie all rolled into one. The beautifully restored island behind me is just another example of the extraordinary work that Sandy has done for our community. The project was a particular project of labor for Sandy. She conceived it, funded, designed it, and oversaw the construction. No detail was too small for Sandy on this project. I had to chuckle looking out my window from Town Hall from day to day, seeing the construction progress and seeing Sandy out there giving all kinds of directions. Move it here, move it there, okay. She was a very active construction supervisor here. As well, the DPW did a tremendous job in working with Sandy. There was a true love between the two in putting this project together. In fact, it was the actual workers who were out here with Sandy working on the project that first put the sign out here, Sandy's Island. The island behind us is a testament to her skills in the area of landscape design and is quickly becoming one of the hottest spots in the area for wedding ceremonies. Certainly judging by the requests that we've had on the selectmen's meetings over the last few weeks, we've been getting flooded. I suspect pretty soon we'll be rivaling the Las Vegas for venue of wedding ceremonies out here someday.
It's a revenue source, right?
Yes, a definite revenue source.
And a sustainable one at that.
Truly, from all of us here today in the entire community, Sandy, you have our grateful appreciation for everything you've done on behalf of the citizens here. At this time, I'd like to call upon Sandy to give us a little history about the island, going back, I guess, to 1914, the original construction.
Thank you, Brian. I have to laugh because I had thought that I would give you a little bit of what I call historical background about the island, about this area. And the more questions I asked about when things were done, or what was done how, or what was here then, the more confusing the whole story became, and there were so many conflicting pieces of information, I decided that instead of giving you any kind of background, I'm going to tell you about how I knew about this island. And we'll leave all the dates and all the history of this to the historians at this point. When I, first moved to town in the 60s, this little island, of course, was out here. And we all knew that it had been constructed for the pleasure of the residents and people living in this area. There had been talk about bridges. There had been talk about the fact that NCOF Fair, at its annual fair, each year would have tea parties on the island. It was a well-known wedding spot even then. Some people remember just coming and feeding the ducks. Dan Shane told me a wonderful story about his bread bags. I'm sure you all remember the Wonder Bread bags with the colored polka dots all over. And he was the first one across the bridge with the rest of his family behind him with the bread for the ducks. So there were, lots of memories and lots of stories that one heard about this island. And the fact that it had been constructed for the enjoyment of people left a lot to be desired because there was no way to get there. At least when I moved to town, there was no way to get there. You simply looked at it and thought, well, that's nice, but there was no way from here to there. During the tenure of my being on the Design Review Committee and working on the town common in various places here in town, mostly public areas is where I work, Jake Cha-Cha, the engineer at the time, gave me a photograph. And the photograph had a picture of a bridge going to the island. It was taken by Bill Ryerson, and I believe the date on the back of it was something like 1958. So in 1958, there was access to this island. Jake gave me this photograph, and when you go into the auditorium, there's a table sitting there, and my scrapbook, because this did become a very special project for me. My scrapbook is there, and the very first page will show you that photograph of that bridge, which became my leading light, if you will. Jake said to me, "Here's a great project for you, Sandy Rodgers." And I looked at Jake and I said, "Someday." I was busy with the town common. I was busy with the Arthur Griffin Center. I was busy with a lot of other public spaces here in town, and someday was really what I meant. I was working on the library landscaping, and obviously it's up the hill from here, and I would stand on the back deck and look down at this poor little island that was covered with weeds, and I would announce to everyone, including this island, "Okay, you're next. As soon as we get done up here, you're next." And a number of people overheard this and overheard the fact that, okay, the island was going to be next. And the next thing I knew, I had a photograph left in my doorway. And Mary Pronsky wanted me to know that she had enjoyed, as a high school student, the use of this island and became 110, maybe 125% behind this whole project. I will say there were innumerable people who all of a sudden got very excited about this project. And I heard more stories about what had gone on this island and how it was used, but mostly how it was enjoyed. So we started work on the island, and obviously you can see the results of the work right behind me. I would have to say that, it's wonderful to have ideas in your head and to have a vision of, what might be done in a certain area. But it really takes the people who are implementing that vision, if you will, to make it all happen. So I want to say right now, my deepest gratitude really does go to the DPW. This would never have happened unless the DPW was right there, digging, pulling, pushing, And the story about getting this bridge in place alone, if you look at the scrapbook, you will see that it was brought in by crane. It was lowered onto, I would say, footings that were already there. The fact that, number one, the bridge fit on the footings. Number two, that despite the swinging, once it was lifted by the crane, they were able, the DPW men were able, with ropes and things, to get it down on the fittings perfectly. And in my scrapbook there is a photograph of the hugs and jumping up and down. We did it, by golly, we did it, you know. And the whole project was like that, you know. The benches went in, and the fence went in, and different things happened, and it progressed. And the last couple of weeks, it's been, surprise, Sandy, guess what? You know, the extra benches were put in. It was surprise, Sandy, and it was really, as I say, with a lot of enthusiasm, but as I say, mostly a lot of help from the DPW that made this happen. So with all of that, I want you to now have a chance to go out on the island, and I would like all of you to enjoy it as much as people have enjoyed it in the past. And even now, I keep hearing stories about various reasons why people have not only been out there to enjoy it, but it's a very special spot. There is something very special about going across a bridge and going out to an island, and your perspective changes a little bit. So, enjoy it.
Next, I'd like to call upon Elizabeth Kreger, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, to present a proclamation to Sandy.
Oh, excuse me.
We have to keep
That wasn't.
we have to keep a few surprises
That's
up
not
our
on the
sleeve.
schedule.
Sorry, it's happening anyway. Well, as you have all heard, there are a few citizens who have had more to do with town beautification than Sandy Rodgers. And I want you to know that she is certainly the person to whom the Board of Selectmen looks. If there is any question about beautification or aesthetics here in town, she's our go-to gal. So at our last meeting, last Wednesday, we have passed the following citation for Sandra S. Rodgers. The Board of Selectmen of the Town of Winchester is pleased to present this citation in recognition of the extraordinary contributions of Sandra S. Rodgers to the Town of Winchester. As a Winchester citizen since 1962, Sandy Rodgers has worked tirelessly on town committees, boards, and community organizations with generosity of spirit and selfless dedication. As a major contributor to the fundraising effort of nonprofit organizations and public projects, she has enriched the lives of all of our citizens. Given this 14th day of October, 2001, in Winchester, Massachusetts, by order of the Board of Selectmen.
Now onward to the island out here, where we'll have the actual naming of the island after Sandy and the unveiling of the monument. I hope we can fit most of you out there, and at the same time I hope our island doesn't sink.
It's lasted this long.
Okay, at this time I'd like to call upon Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Elizabeth Kreger, to make a few comments now about the naming of the island after Sandy, and then we'll have the unveiling.
Well, you've all heard about the progress of this project. Certainly downtown Winchester has been renowned for its beauty for many years. But in years past, certainly there's one little spot that has gotten rather neglected, sadly. And I can remember quite vividly, back in the spring of year 2000, when Sid came to our board and said, I have a project. As she has on several things. But she said, I think this is one of those. And we did. She showed us pictures of prospective users. She showed us some historical pictures of what had been there in the past. And we thought this was a terrific idea. But of course the big sticking point came, well, how are we going to fund this anyway? And of course, being completely undaunted, Ms. Rodgers stood up and said, don't worry about it, I'll take care of that. And she did. And I have to say, this has been a tremendous project. We have been very happy with the participation of our wonderful town employees that all of this has been able to be accomplished. So we are very, very proud this afternoon to be able to unveil a stone, actually, with the new and official name of this island on which we are standing. And that will be done by Mrs. Mary Conti, who has, as you will see by some of the pictures, certainly has a history of the island.
I don't need my life raft yet. It has been my distinct honor and pleasure to play this part in this project. I think the town is going to be well pleased with this, and many of the citizens over the years will have a wonderful place to come and enjoy themselves. And let's all say thank you to Sandy Rodgers.
Okay, thank you. This part of the phase of the celebration today is to honor the restoration of the town hall and the efforts that Chad Maurer, our previous town manager, put into that. Certainly, as we had mentioned earlier about Sandy, no less the case with Chad. There was no detail too small for Chad to be involved in the renovation of this town hall. I must say, in the short time that I've been with this community, everyone that walks into this town hall, the first thing they remark is how beautiful this town hall is and how beautifully restored it was. And a lot of that has to do with the efforts of Chad Maurer. At this time, I'd like to call upon our town moderator, John Sullivan, to make a few comments.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be selected to speak at this part of the program. And for those that couldn't see the Maurer family in the prior settings, this is Reggie Maurer right here, Chad's wife, Lynn, his daughter, on my right, Andy, his son, and my favorite down here, this is Taylor. Tyler. Oh, sorry, Taylor. Ladies and gentlemen, Chad Maurer came to Winchester in 1985, and that was 14 years before he died in 1999. And during that period, I knew him as a true professional, but more important to me especially, he was a true friend. He was a guy with a wonderful sense of humor, a dedication to his family, and a dedication to the town of Winchester. First and foremost, most of us think of him, people that were in elected office, think of him as a person who strengthened the management system here in town and put in place procedures and policies and department heads that brought our management level up to a skill uncommon for a town of this size. While that normally would be what some would speak on, I think the library trustees really captured the essence of Chad in the stone, where the quotation is, "Make no little plans." And most of us didn't realize it, but Chad made a lot of plans. Behind me, this beautiful building was actually the subject of a demolition plan at one time for the construction of a modern town hall. Chad helped change that vision. He built this building, he built the library behind us, the police and fire station, and keep in mind this is in 14 years, and we see how long it is for us trying to get one school fixed now. He built, in addition to that, a water treatment plant, revamped the sewage system, built a DPW facility, and all of this in 14 years. And probably for the future of the educational system, he was the person who conceived of not trying to fix one school part at a time, but to put together a plan for reconstruction of all of the school infrastructure. That was his idea, and his idea alone. And I would say to the Maurer family is that many leaders have a vision. Only a few leaders can put together a plan and implement it. And I would say on behalf of all the citizens of Winchester, to the Maurer family, for our town, Chad was a real leader, and he has left a stamp on this community that will be unmatched. Thank you very much.
At this time, I'd like to call upon Andrew Maurer to speak on behalf of the family.
Thank you, and good afternoon. Many years ago, my father performed on the stage in this auditorium in the Winton Club at Shirley Temple. And I think if WinCam ever decides to rebroadcast that year's Winton Club, you may rethink the honor of renaming this auditorium. But it is an honor, and my family and I would like to thank the town of Winchester for honoring my father's memory today with the Granite Circle out by Sandy's Island and with renaming this auditorium. I know that my father often used Burnham's quote, "Make no little plans, they have no magic to stir men's blood." And I know how important it was for him to bring people together to achieve a common goal. A few months after he passed away, the court took on another meeting from my wife and me. We became inspired and made big plans of our own. We quit our jobs and moved to South Carolina for a couple of years. And at the time, it was what we needed to excite our souls. And we are happy today to have returned in time for today's dedication. In the years to come, my sister Lynn and I hope will be able to tell and show our children what a special person my father was to us, and to give them a drive around town and show them the many projects that he contributed to. But by renaming this auditorium after my father, we'll have a chance to tell them that the town of Winchester appreciated him and found his service invaluable enough to honor his memory. Thank you very much.
Just a couple of last things here. The DPW, as I mentioned earlier, formed a special bond with Sandy during their work on the island out there. It's come to my attention that they've put together a little thing for Sandy, in recognition of her efforts that I'd like to read to you today. To Sandy, this is about the hardest poem I've ever had to write. Because mere words cannot do justice to what you've done is out of sight. You spent all your time and money to make this town look neat. Without asking for any great applause, we think you're pretty sweet. Your giving heart we cherish, to you praises we will sing. We're really proud to know you, you're such a lovely thing. You're always here for us, we'll be here for you. We know you love this little town, we all love you too. So from the bottom of our grateful hearts, thank you for these things. God put you here because he knew you'd be in the wind beneath our wings. God bless you, Sandy.
Sandy was part of the Winchester Public Library Landscaping Committee. When working on the library project, Sandy started thinking again and casting her eyes towards the neglected island in Mill Pond. A fall storm that blew down a willow tree spurred her into action. Sandy's Island is a result of this idea. Her gift of this island's restoration is yet another example of her generosity and passion to make Winchester a beautiful place in which to live. It is a small thank you from Winchester to the woman who has done so much for us.